everybody out.
It's 5:15. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Kirby Anderson.
Here.
Natalie Knudsen. Melanie Cole. Matthew Lemke.
Here.
Missy Hermes, present. Stephen Bigasa.
Here.
The chair and, we have a quorum. The chair and vice chair are absent. Nominations for chair pro tem are now in order.
I nominate Steve Bigasa.
I'll second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations for chair pro tem? All right, nominations are closed. All those in favor of electing Steve Bigasa, our chair pro tem for tonight's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion for the agenda, approval of the agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Move on to resolution of acknowledgements. Thank you to Julie Brager for her donation to the high school yearbook. Otter Elementary PTO for their donations of a JAWS Bluetooth speaker to Adams School and a popcorn machine to Lincoln School. And Fergus Falls 544 Education Foundation and the Fergus Falls Eagles Aries for their donation to the ADSYS program at Cleveland School. Can I get a motion to, how do you say that?
Resolution.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll offer that resolution and move for its approval.
Can I get a second?
Second it.
Clerk, will you take roll?
Yes. Matthew Lemke.
Yes.
Missy Hermes, yes. Stephen Bigasa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
All right, so then we'll move on to our reports, and starting with Mr. Craig Peterson about the 2025 orchestra trip.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'd like to, pending your approval, take the 11 high school students in my chamber strings on a brief performance and cultural tour to Grand Forks and Winnipeg on April 4th, 5th, and 6th of 2025. Chamber Strings is a morning ensemble that I assembled new this year. This is an ensemble for students who are looking for additional musical challenges and to play music that is better suited for a smaller group. It's my wish to have this group perform in the community. We have performances planned at Lincoln School, Noon Rotary, and Dance and Dessert so far. I'd also like this group to have some smaller scale travel opportunities outside of the biannual music trip, which you'll also hear a proposal for tonight. A tentative itinerary on Friday, April 4th, travel to Grand Forks and participate in an exchange concert with the orchestra students at Red River High School. We would do rehearsals, recreational and team building time performances for each other, and or a public performance, and then travel to Winnipeg. Saturday, master class at the University of Manitoba and the Manitoba Opera is doing a performance of La Boheme. On Sunday, April 6th, I'm hoping to visit the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and they have free admission on Sundays. Some blurbs from the Human Rights Museum website. The museum exhibits strive to connect each visitor to human rights. The museum's 10 core galleries contain diverse stories from Canada and around the world, relayed through interactive presentation, multimedia technology, and world-class design. Through our galleries and programs, you will encounter thousands of stories featuring people, events, and ideas from all over the world. We explore moments of human rights advancement and others of setback. These stories encourage us all to consider how our choices affect others, from our neighbors to people across the globe. And then, after a visit there, we will return home. Some other possibilities include the Forks Historic Site and Market, the Assiniboine Park and Zoo, and performance in the public in Winnipeg. I estimate the cost to be about $500, plus the cost of a passport or a passport card. A passport is $130, a passport card is just $30. Students under 16 need only proof of U.S. citizenship to cross the border. There are some seniors in the group looking to use previously fundraised money. We also have concessions, service food receipt, and frozen food fundraisers. Friends of the Orchestra, our booster group, is able to provide scholarships for students in need. Are there any questions?
What was the last comment on the students with needs? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Our booster group, Friends of the Orchestra,
Oh, okay.
is in a position to provide scholarships for students.
Okay.
If I look at this right, you leave on the 4th, and
Yep.
you're back on the 6th, so
Yep.
that you're only missing 1 day of school?
1 day of school.
Okay, Friday the 4th, okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Peterson? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to the 2026 Music Trip Veterans Memorial Parade with Mr. McGowan.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having us today. I'm going to start with a little backstory on kind of where we, like how we've gotten to where we are right now, and then talk about some of the performance opportunities with our proposed trip, the educational impact of the trip for students, some of the cultural experience students will get to experience on the trip, the cost, and some fundraising. So some fundraising ideas that we have. So in the spring, we were reached out to by a nonprofit group called Historic Programs, and they kind of pair groups with significant parades around the country, groups that kind of like match the theme that they're going for a certain parade. And they reached out to us and said that we'd be a good fit for the National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade in Waikiki. And I said, man, that sounds awesome. So they said I would need to fill out an application for it, and I did, and within a matter of days, they said, we'd love to have you. And that was actually for March of 2025. And then talking to my music colleagues, we decided that's probably too quick of a turnaround for kids, like 9 months to fundraise and get a trip figured out and figure out how to fly with students. So we asked if we could postpone the trip a year and have it be have our band represent Minnesota in 2026, and then also kind of tied into our biannual music trip that we've historically had on even numbered years. And so this would be a trip for the marching band, and then the top band, choir, and orchestra here. So it'd be mostly juniors and seniors, but then also some 9th and 10th graders that are either in the top ensembles or in marching band. Some of the dates for that trip, you maybe have this, but the dates for the trip would be March 25th through March 30th, 2026. And if I am thinking about it correctly, that should be right after basketball state tournament time. So we shouldn't be interfering with any kind of like state tournaments or anything like that. Some performance opportunities that we have on the trip is the USS Missouri in Pearl Harbor. We could have all of our groups do a performance there. The opening ceremony of the Vietnam Veterans Day Parade. There's an opening ceremony that the band would play at, and then the band would also play in the parade. And then the Polynesian Cultural Center has groups that come to perform, and all of our groups would be able to perform there. So a total of 4 performances for the the groups, but 2 of those would be just marching band likely. The educational impact that we hope to provide for these students is, one thing that we would like to do is invite a social studies teacher into our classrooms and talk about the Vietnam veterans or Vietnam War and its impact on our country as a whole, and then also collaborate with the local VFW to have either Vietnam vets or their spouses come in and talk about what it meant to their life, what their experiences were in the war, and help students gain a deeper understanding of the impact. And then it would also help us connect the performances that we do with the places and the significance of the event for our students, and make it hopefully a memorable and worthwhile trip. Other cultural experiences the students would get to have on the trip is a visit to Pearl Harbor, including the USS Arizona and USS Arizona Memorial and the USS Missouri, and a tour of the Polynesian Cultural Center to explore Polynesian history and traditions. And then there's a farm in Hawaii called Kukua Learning Farms. And what they do is they invite school groups in to learn about agriculture in Hawaii and sustainable cultivation practices and eco-friendly farming practices. And we would likely, we haven't reached out to them yet, but we would likely be able to get into there and do some sort of service project while we're there at the Kukua Learning Farms. The cost for the trip would be about $3,000 per student, and a good chunk of that is flights. Flights would cost about $1,200 per kid, leaving like about $1,800 as like the remaining trip cost. And we kind of did some math. For the longest time, for about the past 20 years, we figured when Miss Sands was in high school, the cost of trips was always aimed to be under $1,000. And if you take $1,000 back in 2006 and fast forward to now, that would be roughly about a $1,600 trip. And so if we can work to bring down the cost for families and try and we have an idea for a fundraiser I'll get to in a minute to try and cover as much of the flight cost as possible so that the family's main cost is that remaining $1,800. That's our goal. One of the biggest ways that we plan to fundraise is through, if you take, the total cost of flights is about $100,000 for our estimated 80 kids that would go. And if we said, one of our ideas was if we take the total number of miles it is from here to Hawaii, it ends up being about $25 per mile. And we want to make some big banner that would say Minnesota, Hawaii, and have an airplane, and people could sponsor miles along the way. We've done it for the inaugural parade back in 2013. And it was a really great way to fundraise, and I see it being a good way this time too. We have other ideas for fundraisers if you want to know more about them. Some other questions that we have that we're still working on is what kind of maybe paperwork or things would need to be figured out for flights, because we haven't taken our groups on a flight before. And then for instruments, if it makes sense either to check them as oversized luggage, or I know a lot of companies do rentals in big places like Hawaii. They would be able to rent out instruments to our groups. So those are questions that we are still trying to figure out which would be the most cost-effective and simplest way for us to go. But I am open to any questions that you guys might have right now.
How does that $3,000 per student for this trip compare to, say, the trip that you took this year, the music trip?
That's a great question.
I think that, so you're saying like last year, the Nashville Memphis one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we, I think we got that trip down to around 1,300 for students,
Okay.
which was reasonable. We were hopeful to do a bigger trip than that, but it ended up being a smaller trip because we tried to keep it cost down, so.
Thank you.
Is there a minimum number of kids that you would, is there a point where you wouldn't go? Like if there's you're estimating 80, if there's only 40, would you just not go, or what would
It's
you?
a good question. It would probably depend on instrumentation.
Mhm.
If it seems like we could still field a band or
Sure.
orchestra, choir, that kind of stuff, then I don't see a reason why we wouldn't.
Mhm.
But if it was, if we just didn't have the right mix of kids,
Yeah.
then I would say that we probably wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. So with the trip last year, like out of your total enrolled kids, how many actually went on the trip?
Oh, I think we had maybe a little more than 80. We filled 2 buses, so.
I think in the 90,
Yeah.
not quite 100,
Yeah,
90 to 100.
that sounds
Yeah.
right.
Out of how many?
We have 300 some
Okay.
in high school, 350.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Gotcha.
380.
380. Okay, I knew you'd know. Yeah.
And how many days was the last trip?
About the same, like 6 days.
6 days.
It was a week.
Yep.
Cool.
One of the things we were thinking that would be kind of nice, the board has in the past expressed that you would like students to miss as little school as possible, and coming with it, this early is, if you were interested, you could schedule in a break of some sort, like a spring break for students that are still here, so that students on this trip aren't missing so much school.
And that was one of the goals last year when we discussed it, we said we hope to bring you something in the fall so that we can look at calendars early enough in advance, so it's our goal for being here early.
Thank you.
I think that is the week before Easter,
Yes.
so, the 30th, I think Easter is April 6th that year.
Okay.
How many, so you get, say, is shooting or target, you're looking at 80 students, plus or minus. How many staff and chaperones?
I would say about 6 or 7 staff.
Yeah, probably, you shoot for a 10 or 12 to 1
Okay,
Yeah.
ratio is
That's what we
kind of the sweet spot.
okay. So you're not looking at a lot of
Administrators.
Non-staff
I'm getting head nods from
chaperones.
administrators, thank you.
Sorry.
You wouldn't have a lot of non-staff chaperones then, because if you have 6 or 7 staff, you're right at that 10 to 12,
Yeah.
at the 12 number.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Any more questions for Mr. McGowan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our Director of Special Education, Nancy Grieger.
And I brought my our assistant director, Julie Domino, along too, so I thought it'd be good for her to come and meet all of you, and for all of you to meet her as well, so. Thank you very much. Well, first, I want to thank you for having us today. I'm pretty familiar with all the faces here, but this is my 30th year with the district, but my 4th month as your special ed director. So I really appreciated everything the district has done for me and my family, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to lead the special ed department. Julie has been a wonderful resource leader, and so I just thought I would bring her so she could introduce herself as well.
Oh, sure. I'm Julie Domino, Assistant Director here at Fergus Falls Schools. Been here since July 1st. I come from the Brandon School District, is where I have worked there, and a prior position as Assistant Director, position in special education. Was there 24 years of that. Before that, I was a speech pathologist. So I have a background in special ed, getting about my 35th year in right now in special ed. So grateful to have the opportunity to be able to come to Fergus. I'm following my husband and who found some work here, and here I am. So
Wonderful resource for early childhood. She's really helped, and we're going to talk a little bit about our programs developing. This year we currently have 654 special education students in our school district, birth through age 22, across the 9 buildings, which also include the ECSE and the IQ. We have 59 certified staff and 78 support staff that we're supporting this year. And things are going well. I'm pleasantly, I shouldn't say surprised, but a little, we have some learning to do for sure as a new director, and learning to get to know each other as well. But overall, I've been really pleased with how things have been developing. Some of the new programs and new things that we have established so far this year include the new school psychologists. We have 3 new school psychologists, 2 occupational therapists, and 1 CODA. Doing really wonderful things with new sensory rooms across the district, helping support students with those needs, helping us address behavior across programs has been phenomenal. I'm really excited about the work they're doing. We have a consultative physical therapist, 8 currently speech pathologists working really hard with some very large caseloads. Speech continues to grow, and they're doing a really great job balancing those. Our ECSE services, we currently have 2 teachers, and Julie's going to touch base on that a little bit. And we have our new Setting 3 programs at Adams and Kennedy. Both of those programs are running with 7 to 8 students. The most challenging piece, of course, is behavior, and they're doing a nice job establishing those new programs in those rooms. One of the benefits of the new leadership of Julie and I working together, just focusing on Fergus Falls, is the additional support we're able to provide with communication. I really appreciate opportunities I have working more closely with administration, teachers, support staff, custodians, families, parents, guardians, students. It just feels like we have more communication happening now than ever. Close supervision with staff,
working with Renee with the budget, getting things aligned to meet the needs across the district more consistently has been huge. Staff development on Thursday, what was the count?
73.
73 staff were trained on Thursday on our early out, helping learn more about behavior de-escalation, physical intervention when necessary, and we had 4 different sessions throughout the day. And so just knowing firsthand, we have a need, we want to make sure we're meeting those needs with staff development, and we'll continue to do that throughout the year. Another huge piece, and the piece that I focus quite a bit of time on, is us being in compliance with the federal and state laws and regulations, making sure that we're reporting things accurately and well, and us being able to focus on that is pretty important, and something that we're definitely growing and improving on. Working with program planning and curriculum, also a huge focus for us this year. When Julie and I met, we really, for the district, see us establishing more of a 2-year, a 3-year, and a 5-year plan. But for this year, our focus has been really 3 areas. One of them is continuing to build and establish those Setting 3 programs and support them as much as we can. The second area is secondary transition. We started an employment first team working with MDE, DHS, and DEED. They support the Employment First E1MN teams, working with administration, myself and Mark Anderson, teachers that have the work-based learning licensing, working with Otter Tail County and Voc Rehab. I really want to do a big shout out to Lisa Miller and Alan Anderson for leading this group, and with my support, trying to look more into funding sources for building our transition programs. It's an area of focus that we have prioritized for this year.
Another area of focus we have has been in early childhood special education. It's also known as ECSE, so that's the little acronym that's with it. That's our birth to up to kindergarten age population of students that would have special education needs. Some of the things that we've been developing, first thing we made sure we had going is in July 1 that we had our we were hooked up to the state referral system, which is known as Help Me Grow, and that's going very smooth. We're getting many referrals right now from various sources. The other area we have been working on developing is adding in additional programming for our young learners that have special education needs. And then just some hiring updates. IQ has continued to grow. So we have had some IQ new teachers due to some enrollment increases. There's 110 new students that are on IEPs within the IQ Academy. We've had a surge of lots of needs within speech and language, articulation, communication needs. So we've had an increase of about 60 new speech students. And so there's a posting currently up for a new speech pathologist. We've been continually working on special education paraprofessional hiring. Currently there are 3 open positions, one at high school here, Adams, and Cleveland. And DHH teacher, that has been open since the summertime, and we have some consultation help that's helping with that right now. So
Thank you for your time.
yes, thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I have a question. The 110 IEPs students with IEPs at IQ, those are additional, new, or?
New this year enrolled, yep.
Okay, not, and in addition to then students that already had IEPs.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay.
So out of those 110 to 60 new speech and students,
Some
is
are
that
those.
part of double?
Yes,
right.
Okay,
Yes.
So just from your professional, why so many students that need help with speech? Just in general, do you?
Several reasons as to probably why we have, increased needs with speech. It's, we've seen a trend with it, probably since COVID time, the ones that don't learn to talk quite as quickly, You see a lot of electronic devices that kids are on, slows some development with being able to learn to speak. So those are some of the reasons. And then IQ for sure, having that increase in the numbers as well there.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
All right. Move on to our elementary principal at Adams McKinley, Scott Colbeck.
I'm wondering, is John Steinbrenner's name missing from
It
this
is,
agenda?
and you should be on it, so you should be first.
My apologies, John, nothing personal.
This is my first day as a pro whatever chairperson. John Steinbrenner.
All right, here we go.
Lincoln School Principal.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Say just a few updates here from a building-wide perspective. Over the MEA break, there were some construction adjustments that needed to be made, and those were simply instances of, hey, now that we have our kindergartners at this site in this building, how are things operating and working for our littles? And there were just some slight adjustments that needed to be made, things as simple as where are the paper dispensers in the bathrooms. And so those adjustments were recommended, and we did some communication with the construction company, and all that work got done. There were also some safety considerations with self-closing door hinges and installation of lock blocks. So all of that work was completed over MEA, and seems to be working as we had hoped. There was some touch-up work that was done on the asphalt as well. So a number of those checklist items that really just presented themselves after we had a chance to move in have been taken care of. Along those lines, but just from an overarching building-wide perspective, we've had a number of situations lately where we've just needed to have substitute teachers in the building or substitute support staff, and I think the efforts that are being made at the district level are paying off. Just within our building, we've been really fortunate in being able to find coverage. So I think there's some positive movement there. So the efforts that are being made are appreciated and noticed. At the kindergarten level, it's the fall, so everyone's kind of in the fall spirit. We have the right level of spookiness in the building, but primarily some pumpkin themes. There is one of the auxiliary classrooms that's available this year has been turned into a bat cave, and that's a big hit with kids. They've drawn me in at least 5 times because they wanted to show me and give me their perspective on the bat cave. So it's fun, and we have Teresa, who was at the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center but is retired from there. She's coming in tomorrow to do a presentation on bats and owls, and those are kids are looking forward to that. Those are taxidermy bats and owls, not the real life thing, but nonetheless, it will be a great day. On Wednesday of this week, the kindergarten level project-based learning lesson is a pumpkin patch. So the students and the teachers have been working collaboratively on that. So there will be a pumpkin patch this Wednesday on the inside of Lincoln School. There may be some necessary cleanup afterward, but it should be a fun day. Parent-teacher conferences were well attended. We had 97% participation. Only a few folks weren't able to be there. Special thanks to the PTO for providing some meal and special treats. Those end up being kind of back-to-back days, so folks might have a hard time finding their way out of the building, so the PTO provided some nutrition for teachers on those days. As Mr. Peterson mentioned, we will have what he called a cushion concert where he'll set up in the music room, and then we'll have groups of students cycle in. It's about a 10-15 minute conversation for 3 sections at a time, and so we're really looking forward to seeing some of those big high school students in the building performing for our kindergartners. At the early childhood level, we didn't coordinate on this, but one thing that I wanted to highlight was just I've been really impressed with the collaboration between the Otter preschool teachers, the early childhood programming, and our early childhood special education service providers. It's been nice to see that that co-location of different programming really benefits students and families. Those early childhood special education folks have always had access to the building and have worked there since Lincoln's been available and even before Lincoln, but for those folks to be there each and every day and have just have that accessibility to students and that opportunity to collaborate with Otter preschool teachers has just been really nice to see. We've also with our early childhood programming been able to kind of blend access really well. So our early childhood program, they're on what would have been perceived as the kindergarten side of the building. They're using the playground. They're using the same hallways. They're using the group restrooms as necessary. And I only highlight that from the standpoint of I really think our Otter preschool students are going to have a leg up, a stronger foothold next year as they transition into being at kindergarten at Lincoln School. I think we're really going to notice that next year, and it's already evident now just with the familiarity that our 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds have in that building. An extension of that is on November 4th, next Monday, we are, as a district, transitioning into making some allowances for our 4-year-olds to use school transportation. So families that have elected to participate in that. And so we've been working with Otter Tail coaches to ensure that a plan is in place for that. So just a number of small incremental changes, but that have kind of pay out big dividends in the long run. So just really proud of the work that's taking place at Lincoln School. Any questions from the group?
Did you say the intercom system was fixed yet or not yet?
Yes. The intercom system at one point had been working, and I just tried it on Friday and it was out again. There is a reset option, Stephen, that it's a case of unplug it and plug it back in and wait for it to work. I would like to see it working all the time without having to do the reset. I think that would be my benefit, yeah, or my option rather. So that's one thing that does need to be completed.
Any other questions for Mr. Steinbrenner?
On the bus thing for the 4-year-olds, is that something where the buses there would be dedicated buses picking them up, or do they have to come up here and transfer buses?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we've talked about specifically with families is that it's an option that exists for our 4-year-olds,
Right.
but it's not required, and we've been really transparent and have said this now ends up being early childhood through grade 12 transportation. So our 4-year-olds will be loading at Lincoln with their 5-year-old kindergarteners, and then riding over here to the same transportation site. So it's not exclusive busing for preschool.
Okay.
But families know that.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thanks for having me, appreciate it.
All right, now we can go to Mr. Colbeck, our Adams and McKinley principal.
Thank you. Good evening. So last Thursday evening and all day Friday, we had parent-teacher conferences. We had a really good turnout. I don't have specific data for you, but I've done this job long enough to know it would be somewhere between 94 and 96% attendance, but we'll still collect that. Thursday was really busy. Many of our classroom teachers went 11 consecutive 20-minute conferences. So a really busy night, and then a very steady day on Friday between 8 and 3:30, parents coming and going. Our teachers do a really nice job of reaching out to those parents who did not or were not able to attend their conference. So we make some 2 or 3 good faith attempts to engage the parents that weren't able to make it to conferences last week. our third graders from Adams School on a day last week, and then the McKinley third graders the following day had a really great experience traveling up to Moorhead and being on the campus of MSUM for the planetarium and oceanarium experience. It's something that third graders do every year, thanks to our PTO who covers the cost of all of that, including the transportation. I sensed when our kids got off the buses coming back to school that day, they were very excited about their experience, and the third grade teachers were saying that they had made some changes up there from past years that were really good, positive changes, and so even the staff was just saying it was a really, really good experience. So again, thank you to our parent-teacher organization for that. Our PTO tries to do one special experience per year for our kids as they come through the grade levels, and they try to keep that experience the same at each grade level. So as a student coming through K through 4, now K through 5, we just know what their experiences are going to be coming up through the grades. And then a huge thank you and shout out to our 544 Education Foundation. I have not tapped into the grant application often with this group, but I did this year, and they funded at a cost of $4,510 2 new indoor basketball hoops for the Adams School Gymnasium. And the what's in there right now are 2 metal fan-shaped hoops original to that gymnasium whenever that was built. I don't know when it was built, maybe in the 50s or 60s add-on. So these new rectangular shaped glass boards will be, it'll really freshen up that space, so we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to them being installed on Friday. And then the foundation also, I think it was $990, funded some startup costs to our expanded JAWS program that is now offered at both schools. So really appreciate the work of our foundation. You've maybe heard me talk about core reading training, also known as OLA. OLA stands for Online Language and Literacy Academy. This is a training that staff are doing on their own time. However, this Friday afternoon we do have our first 1-hour live session, and that is a mandatory session, and we're looking forward to that experience. I would like to congratulate and recognize our fire poster contest winners. These kids were able to go on a ride on a fire truck and then go have lunch with some firefighters. And our winners between McKinley and Adams were Owen Kinraid, Patrick Hespel, Ava Casey, Caius Schell, and Hattie Renner. So congratulations to those winners of the fire poster contest. And then lastly, I just want to thank and recognize some folks who have been filling in for some maternity leaves this fall. Kayla Thompson, Kaylee Graff, Carrie Tollerson, and then Michelle Oliphant and Diane Marvel have admirably filled in for some staff who are on maternity leave. We're looking forward to getting some people back on November 18th, November 25th, December 2nd, and January 2nd.
Wow.
And then we'll be fully staffed until March and May. Then we'll go back to the drawing board and figure some things out. So that's my report for you this evening. I can entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Kolbeck?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Cindy Grund, our Cleveland Elementary principal.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to also acknowledge the success of fall conferences that were held last Thursday evening and Friday. We're always thrilled to have a good turnout because it's important to just have those opportunities to visit with parents about their child's performance to date. Kind of a nice check-in too to see if we're getting to know their child correctly. They know their children the best, and we're learning about them as we go. So teachers were excited to report out positive attendance at Cleveland. We were able to hold 342 conferences over Thursday evening and all day Friday, which is a lot of conversations, a lot of great conversations. 4th grade had a 97% participation, and 5th grade a 95% participation. And I have a few notes that a couple needed to be rescheduled for last minute situations that popped up, and a couple teachers are still reaching out to families. So they're doing their diligence to ensure that those conversations can be had. So we always say it's always a good time to conference with parents. And then during conferences, we had a book fair in the Cleveland lunchroom. A big, huge thank you to Mackenzie Cunningham, our new paraeducator who oversees the library. She quickly learned about how those scholastic book fairs work and set it all up and hosted the event all on her own. So she did a fantastic job, and many families stopped in to take advantage of that opportunity, and it was a huge success. So great to have that as well. I also wanted to congratulate the fire safety poster winners at Cleveland. We had Olita Field, Crew Cundy, and Allie Burris Lake. Their posters that featured the theme, Smoke Alarms Make Them Work For You, were selected as the winners, and they were thrilled to have a ride on the fire truck to lunch last week, and then also know that their fire safety posters are entered into the state competition as well. And then I also wanted to mention 4th grade students each year have been given a gift from the government, and their families receive a pass that gives their families, everybody in the vehicle, free access to our national parks and federal recreation lands. And so when parents attended parent-teacher conferences, they received this brochure with the information and then this park pass as well. So this is available to these families through, I believe, the end of next August. So some families already had plans, trips planned, so they were thrilled to get this, and others I think might be making some plans. So pretty neat gift that those 4th grade students receive each year. And then Otter PTO, as Mr. Kolbeck was mentioning, Otter PTO sponsors a grade level experience for each of the elementary grade levels. And in recent years, and this year as well, our 4th grade experience is having the Science Museum of Minnesota come to Fergus Falls. And they have been focusing on engineering, and the teachers have stuck with that because they do such an outstanding job presenting the diverse careers in engineering. And they touch on that, show kids an entire list of here are all the fields that you can pursue in engineering. And then the kids as a grade level attend an assembly, and it's very participant oriented, very engaging, and kids are just enthralled with all the things that they feature during this assembly. And then thereafter, each classroom has a hands-on learning experience where they are the engineers, and they are given a problem to solve, certain materials to use, a limited number of materials to use, and then they're supposed to implement the engineering circle, problem-solving circle of asking questions, imagining what's possible, planning together, creating something that will be a solution, and then improving it. And they do some discussion and talk about how that it's cyclic. You aren't ever done. There might always be room for improvement, and so it's just a really great learning opportunity. And to have the Science Museum come to us really cuts down on some of those costs, and we have just been really, really impressed with the delivery of that program year in and year out. So it was great to have this. Teachers were excited to have this scheduled now in the fall. In years past, it's been in the spring. And so having this experience in the fall gives teachers that opportunity to refer back to it throughout the school year as they're teaching these additional lessons. So we hope to continue to get them scheduled in now in the fall and years to come. And let's see, I don't know if I had anything else to share with you. I think that's it. So, any questions? Thank you very much.
And Mr. Anderson, our high school principal.
Good evening. Starting with our American Indian activities. Berkeley, our new American Indian liaison, has been working with our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. They've done some college visit. They had a student go to a college visit last week. We didn't get a lot of kids sign up, so the parent took the student and we'll pay for gas for them as part of that process. Dan Nynam's coming. Berkeley came in and got that check today. They'll do an activity with families, K-12, and Dan has purchased food. We'll reimburse him for that when he gets us the receipts, but they're making traditional American food tonight, or I think it's tonight, or this week. So she stopped to get that check for him, and then she'll collect the opportunity. We had him a couple times the last 2 years at the school here, at the middle school and high school. Berkeley has also had a couple other speakers come, and she is also currently planning and is signing up for the American Indian Conference that's coming up, and she's looking to take a couple students, which I need to visit with her about, because we're going to have to get that in front of you guys too. It won't be an overnight for them, they go down and come back, but an opportunity for some of our American Indian students to go down and be part of a conference where there'll be other American Indians there also. And we're also looking to bring a few parents, so we'll see how that goes and the opportunities. But Berkeley will stay overnight for two nights because she's going to go down and be part of the whole conference. She's doing a really nice job. Our honor closet here at the high school is officially open for students 6 through 12. We have had a number of local community members and businesses donate. A lot of products and clothing are in there, so students who need hygiene things and things like that have been in there. Lynn has a list of people to contact if we get short on anything. She continually gets bags of clothes. We always remind people we don't want old torn ones. We'll take ones that are neatly and nicely washed and ready to go for us to hand out to kids. It's been nice to see. We have a couple of Otter Time classes that are helping support that piece. And last week we had a big day on Thursday. We had all of our high school students part of our career fair. We also had the opportunity to bring businesses in as part of that opportunity and process. So our 385 students from outside of Fergus Falls Public Schools actually were on campus also to go to the Gold Gym and hear from Dan Lipson from the fire department, as he was our guest speaker for the seniors. Our 12th graders started with Dan, went to the Gold Gym, and then had 2 sessions. Kids had opportunities to either choose a college path or a career path. Many students had different opportunities. A lot of it is finances, scholarships for the college, mental health, how to get yourself prepared for some of those things. In our career one, we had the opportunity this year to have our person from Fergus here actually talk about cover letters and resumes, and also mock interviews. So we had a group of kids do that were specific to the going into the career. A few college kids also chose that as an option, knowing that they'll probably get to pay for college, and it's nice to have those things ready to go and make an income when they're during the summer. Our 11th graders had to choose between NDSCS, NDSU, MSU, M, and Concordia. So we used all our junior Otter Time teachers to go to those trips with our counselors as opportunities. Kids picked the college they wanted to go to. We already have good feedback, some things that will change, maybe a little longer, but it's a half day, we got to get there and get back. But the kids liked it. One of the students came up to me and said, none of those colleges are where I plan to go. And I said, the purpose wasn't for you to attend those colleges, it was the opportunity to find out what you should be thinking about and questions you should be asking as you become a senior when you're preparing to apply, if you're preparing to apply. And quite a few of our career students who will probably go into careers after high school are starting to really connect with either Alexandria and Alec Tech or NDSCS, because many of the business will want them to get a 2-year degree, and they'll also pay for them to go to school, so there's a big push with that. Our sophomores had the opportunity to do 2 choice sessions. We have our career cluster wheel from the state of Minnesota. We have a pathway for each one. We had like 8 or 9 different groups come in and speak to the groups, had opportunities. We tried something different this year. We used to have it all up here, but we moved our woods and metals manufacturing down into that space, so the kids and the presenters would be in something similar to what they're learning. We also had our ag down there for the presenters. Our health sciences was done down there. It had the highest number of students in it. We had 74 kids. We usually cap it at 25 or 30, but we allowed them to go to their first session, which was that. And then they came up I went to the Gold Gym and then had 4th hour classes on Thursday. Our 9th graders, they're not quite ready to make decisions on what life is probably going to be like for them after high school. A lot of them are just trying to figure out, they think they know. They're going through fact seminar class that we offer as 9th grade, hearing some of those things. Some do have an idea what they want to be and what they want to do. And so they had the Gold Gym opportunity. They're the first ones in, so they got all the good stuff. And they were walking around school the rest of the day with all the good handouts and swag. So they enjoyed that piece. They did come to a presentation with Mr. Anderson titled Life Changes. And then they went to classes for 3rd and 4th period. So we had a great day that day. It was nice to see the excitement in the building and nice to see that our local businesses support the opportunity to come in and talk to our kids about opportunities here in Fergus. Our high school staff will have professional development this Friday, November 1st. We are going to do a training in annotating the text. It's one of the highest leverage reading skills that you can have when you're reading. You get to highlight some of the things in there, ask questions, write questions down that you don't understand, and those type of things. It goes along with our goals in the district and one of the goals that we have written for the high school also. One of the other ones is AI Chat GPT. Our couple of teachers went to a college training and came back and have done some really cool things. And in the PLC, that's their focus right now, is how to implement that into their classroom and their instruction. A couple of our social studies teachers will be training all of our staff on that as an opposite of the annotating text. What they have quickly found out is they can write a lesson plan in 2 seconds, as long as they put the information in. They can write tests, modify tests, get answers for tests. It's unlimited of what the things they can do. So our next point after this is leadership will look at what chat looks like in our curriculum and when kids can and cannot use it and what it would look like as evidence that they have to bring forth on what they write. So we'll start having those conversations, and I'm excited to watch that opportunity grow as we get going here. Our current technical education group, also Dennis, Mike, and Joel, took a large group of kids to NDSCS, very specific, earlier in October, to areas of interest there that they might be wanting to get into a career field with and or go to college in. It was well attended. They had 45 or 50 kids go. We did pay for that through our YST grant, so that was an opportunity for them to have subs and us to send students with them. Our college English courses are working on their passion projects, end of the trimester coming up. It's part of their project-based learning, so as Jeff knows, he got interviewed last week as part of that. I had a few groups come in and see me last week, and we're getting asked to have those conversations and being asked tons of questions. We are continually having student meetings with administration like we did last year. Shane does a lot of conversations with student council, offers opportunities for us then to be available during outer time. Students talking about things they'd like to see, specific courses, or just things they want to let us know or voice their opinion, or concern about things they'd like us to address as we go through the school year. We also received a grant from the 544 Foundation for $2,079, and we just officially ordered all those games, and we'll be putting them in our wellness space. Opportunity for kids who are passing classes to do some social opportunities of playing some games, communicating with each other, and building additional relationships with each other. A few of the games I have ideas. I'd like to have a little contest as we go through a la carte, as we have those type of days during the year. And see how we could possibly challenge each grade level with each other. We also started something new. I know this was on the docket before I came. It's come back up multiple times. We did start a junior-senior mentor opportunity. So juniors and seniors, 3 per grade class, go into 9th grade otter times. They had their first 2 meetings last week, and this Monday they actually went in and did some just relationship building. Last week's focus was 2 truths and a lie. Some other things that they know as high school students that 9th graders should be prepared for, and asking questions and getting some things from an index card so they get to know the students. This week they did the Otter TV show. So they went through and had 3 different sessions on different types of questions. One couple of specifics were if you could only have unlimited Wi-Fi or unlimited data, which would you take? Right now, all the kids would take unlimited Wi-Fi. And so those are the things that they did. They also talked about when was the first iPhone coming out, simple and fun things like that. The feedback I'm getting from the mentors is that it's gone really well, looking for different opportunities. And now we're looking for the next opportunity, which will be in a couple weeks. We have our Veterans Day program here at the high school. In connection with Missy, we're going to be able to honor our Vietnam veterans also. So we've added that piece. So we thank that group for coming in that day. We also worked with our Legion and VFW and putting a presentation together. So we spent time with them a couple weeks ago finalizing everything. Our presentation will be November 11th, which is Monday, and we will start at 10 o'clock in the Gold Gym. And we are going to begin preparing for registration here in the next couple of weeks, which seems early, but as part of the process, we want to make sure kids are picking the right things and choosing the right courses. We will use our mentors in those opportunities with our ninth graders, so they know how serious actually registration is and picking the right courses and how important it is. Any questions you have for me?
Back to the outer closet.
Yeah.
Which I love. Two questions about that.
Yeah.
So I can imagine there could be a stigma around going in there and getting
Yep.
some soap or whatever
Yep.
you need. Do you have a discreet way for kids?
Yep, if the kids can, Lynn gave all the teachers and sent an email out. They don't have to come there. If they want to call her, email her. Teachers want to let her know, they can get that information or tell her what they need, and Lynn will bring it to their classroom also. So we have those other opportunities, and Lynn has given out her phone number and email address to families that they need that.
And I know like with the food bank here in town, they've said that donating money sometimes is more effective. And I know you said you have donors. Can people donate? You know, I'm thinking of people that maybe previously donated to like the Otter Angel account.
Yep.
Can they donate to this or?
So I'll go from there. We had, Lynn actually got a $1,000 grant from
Oh,
the 544. We could not accept the money.
Oh,
We had to have them take the money back. Actually, Mindy went out and bought $1,000 of product and brought it in. So that's what we're asking instead of cash donation.
Okay, good.
We're asking for the donations as needed.
Okay.
So that way we're not overstocked, and we don't have a ton of room, but it's amazing how much that Linda's put in that small space that she has in her. in her
where would people go to find out what the needs are? If
It would be Lynn Johnson.
Just Lynn
Yep.
Johnson here.
I
Okay.
did see today that she, or maybe it was on Facebook, but where people could order, she has a wish list on Amazon.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So people can have it just shipped right
I'll have
to
to share
you.
that.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Or right to her,
Sure. Yep.
yeah.
So you mentioned the clothing part. I know every year when we have graduation, there's 3 or 4 tables of lost and found
Yep.
things.
So much
As-
lost and found.
What happens when nobody picks that up? Does that go
It's
to like
usually get
thrift shops?
donated, usually gets donated. If Lynn and I have talked about that, we're really picky at what goes in there.
Sure.
So if it's outerwear, you
Yes.
can guarantee we're gonna take it and wash it and fold it up.
Got it.
If there's a kid's name in it, they can get it back, but most of the time, once it's on the table, no one's taking it.
Right.
But we'll wash that up and clean it up.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Regarding the career tracks,
Yep.
I like, it feels like it's just gotten much bigger and more involved over the past few years. What kind of things do we do for like the student that just like, I don't know what I'm good at and I don't know where I'm going? And, I know there's aptitude tests and stuff
Yep.
like that, but what else do you do to help kids figure out what they're good at?
Yep.
And-
So then in 8th grade, we have youth science. They do some things around the aptitude. They do that again in 9th grade. Usually the aptitude doesn't change from 9th grade to 12th grade.
Mhm.
This is what you usually are good at. These are the things that you should be thinking about. So then the kids, as they go through up from 9th to 12th grade is, what is my aptitude and what is my desire? And we really focus on, for the kids, is why the Gold Gym's one of the stops we want them to go to. Look what's available. And we really preach, we're not telling you you have to go to college. That's not the end goal. You need to choose what's important to you when you graduate. That may be a 2-year school, maybe work, it may be 4-year. Our 4-year attendance is going down. It's at 37% last year. So kids are starting to see other options that are much more financially feasible for them. In the sophomore years, that's one of the reasons we ask them to choose 2 of the sessions. Choose an area you think you're interested in and choose one that you might have an interest in, and we keep talking about that. And then in our Otter Time, part of our personal learning plan, when we get to registration, kids will start formalizing some of those plans on, I think I want to go in the medical field, or no, I think I want to be a electrician. Well, what does that mean here? What courses do we have, and what prepares you for that opportunity?
Is there a way to connect the aptitude to the career? Because sometimes I would think kids, I'm good at math, but I don't
Yep.
really realize which.
In the aptitude on U Science, when you take that, you actually, I had my son take it last year for me. And it connects you with all kinds of things that your aptitude will put you into for a career. Some things kids are like, no way, will I ever do that?
Right. And they don't realize that they, oh. it's
Yes,
fun.
absolutely.
Well, I'm hoping that in future years, that there'll be a booth for the high school, like careers that you can work.
Education.
We did.
Education.
We had a Fergus Falls Public Schools table this year. Yep, we had teachers there.
Okay, because
Yep.
I didn't see it on the list.
Yep,
Okay,
it got
excellent.
added the last 3 days before the end.
Okay,
So,
very
yep,
good.
They've already got ideas on how to make it more appealing for kids next year, but they had a lot of kids stop by and actually ask.
Yes, good.
Yep.
Great.
I know, Mark, I know we have at least 2 graduates who are working in an internship with Ziegler now. They graduated last year. And they go down to the cities every other week and work down there, and then the other week they're up here working. And they get tools and they're guaranteed a job and get paid and everything. And so I wonder if there would be an opportunity maybe for some case studies or something where you say, here's some former graduate, or some of our former students that graduated here, and here's what they did just in the last couple of years, because some of the students that are up and coming maybe know those kids or know their siblings.
And we really hit that really hard for kids when they go into their junior and senior year,
Mhm.
because that's when they can start doing work-based learning.
Right.
So we then really start having the conversation on, and one of the things we're getting better at, we talk to kids about this all the time, is don't assume the answer is no.
Right.
If you don't ask a business, you can't guarantee,
Right.
you might not get the answer you want.
Yep.
What kids are finding, when you ask the question, it might not be a full paid
Mhm.
tuition or tools,
Sure.
but partial is better than, I mean,
Exactly.
a diesel mechanic spending $20,000 for tools, that's a large chunk of money
Yep.
to
Yep.
put out, and Ziegler and RDO pay for
Yep.
those things.
That's right. And after you're there for 2 years, even if you leave the company, you can take your tools.
Tools with you,
Yeah.
yep.
That's
So
great.
we're really pushing that as a, ask the right questions.
Right.
One of the things I'm asking the seniors to do is they're asking to put together presentations. They're not thrilled about it, but those are the things that we ask them to look at is,
Yeah.
if you're going into work, will your business pay for you to get a certificate or
Yeah.
conditional education as you move forward?
Yeah, I think it's great that, we've got some graduates that have done that, some alumni, and the other kids can see that and say, well, if it worked for that kid, and I'm kind of a gearhead too, or
Yeah.
I'm, an electrician
Yep.
type thing, yeah.
I know Joe had a student stop in last week, and I know Dennis had a student drop in a couple weeks ago, and he let them speak to their classes. It was freshmen, but
Okay, yep.
you still hear the message, right?
Yep.
And you don't forget it when when you're a senior.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
And finally, we will move to Superintendent Drake.
Good evening. I am pinch hitting for Principal Hurst for the first half. The middle school variety show was held last week. The public performance was held on the evening of October 15th. And the school performance was the next day for all middle school students to enjoy. There were 10 acts in this year's event. As usual, students were the MCs, worked the lights and sound, and were the stage crew. The acts are fun to watch, but it is great that students are performing all tasks during the event. A shout out to Mrs. Sands for her work making this event happen so smoothly. As you likely know, parent-teacher conferences were last Thursday evening and Friday all day. The 7th and 8th grade students scheduled student-led conferences with their Otter advisory teachers. 6th grade students met with their homeroom teachers. So the percentage of conferences held, 6th grade was 90%, 7th grade was 83%, 8th grade was 66%, for a total of 80%. A huge shout out and thank you to the 544 Education Foundation for this year's grants to the district in the amount of nearly $35,000. Also, thank you to the foundation for their work to grant our classroom and student support via the classroom wish list. Many, many helpful items requested by our teachers for our students. I would also like to thank Mary Madison and Community Ed for her work to secure sponsors for the adopted classroom at the 6th grade level. The middle school book fair started last Wednesday, October 23rd, and runs through tomorrow, October 29th. Thank you to Christy Horgan for her talents and organization to make this a success. The end of the quarter, quarter number 1 is Friday, November 1st. It's also an early dismissal day for students. Recently, middle school science teachers Ted Kohorst and Caleb Kosek brought approximately 25 interested students to the Junior Envirothon in Detroit Lakes. The Envirothon is an outdoor environmental learning competition for middle school students. Area competitions are administered by the state soil and water conservation districts. Teams of students compete by visiting 5 learning stations: aquatics, forestry, soils, wildlife, and current events, which is a new topic this year. The exams are administered by a local natural resource professional who gives the students a brief overview of the topic and explains some of the core concepts. In all, 34 teams competed. This year, Fergus Falls' top teams placed 8th and 11th in competition. And over the last month, the middle school held a data and instruction retreat. We spent a few hours at the community education space away from distractions, talking about MCA data, best instructional practices, and instructional strategies. Each session was productive and enjoyable. It was great to have focused discussions on education. Teachers were thankful for the longer, uninterrupted time to collaborate. Then I will shift into my report. Thank you to members of the FFHS Philanthropy and Youth Committee who attended the annual Inspire Conference in Detroit Lakes. Philanthropy and Youth introduces the importance of leadership and service through grant making within students' local communities. And that is open to all students. We have had a couple of students receive some extremely substantial scholarships by being part of this group. And this activity really fits well in our district's vision of having students be involved and active, engaged members of our community. Some congratulatory notes are due. The boys soccer team finished in 2nd place in the Section 8A soccer tournament. They were defeated in the championship match by St. Cloud Cathedral, but they had a terrific season. I forgot to indicate this on here, but Jaden was named All-State soccer. So Jaden Hikus, so congratulations to him. The Otters have now advanced to the section championship game by shutting out East Grand Forks on Saturday evening. We will face the DGF Rebels in the Fargo Dome this coming Friday at 8 p.m. The winner of that contest advances to the state playoffs. And this was hot off the presses this morning, but head coach Chris Grabowska was named District Coach of the Year, and assistant coach Shane Tilkey was named District Assistant Coach of the Year. So congratulations on those wonderful recognitions to our staff and coaching staff. The Otter Boys cross country team celebrated 3 consecutive years as conference champions, and they finished 2nd at the section meet, which qualifies the team for state. And they had a nice escort into town coming in last week, and there will be a send-off for them coming up on Friday. So best of luck to them. That competition is at the Les Bolstad Golf Course on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Cassie Wellman, who runs for the Otter girls team, qualified as an individual. And this is the 3rd time in her 4 years, she's only a sophomore, as a member of the varsity to compete at the state meet. So congratulations to her. She was 5/100ths of a second behind Lauren Eilers of Wilmer for that section championship. So good luck to Cassie. Looking ahead, we have Mary Poppins coming up in early November. This will be an absolutely perfect opportunity for people to support our students and also hear the new sound system and see the new lighting system in our auditorium. So I encourage everyone to attend the fall musical. This is my last board presentation on the ballot. I'm going to celebrate a little bit this evening on this bond. It seems like I've been speaking about it for about 6.5 years. But a reminder to people on November 5th, if they have not voted absentee so far, that there will be 2 ballot questions related to a new 3rd through 5th grade school for our students. There are 2 questions. Question number 1 is for $48.84 million to build the new school, the playground, the parking lots, all those things. That is estimated to be at a 5% loan rate over a 22-year payback term. For the average homeowner in the Fergus Falls Public School District, at $250,000 home valuation, that would equate to $7.17 per month. That is slightly less than 25 cents per day. Question number 2 can only be passed if question number 1 is approved. So it is contingent on question number 1 passing. That would authorize an additional $910,000 of bond authority to construct a middle school soccer and middle school baseball / softball fields. The owner of a $250,000 home would pay an additional 33 cents per month. And then I do need to let our listeners know of one thing. As I understand the ballot layout, question number 2 appears at the top of the second page. And this may seem unnecessary, but I've heard it is not uncommon for people voting not to realize there is a backside to the ballot. So for people at the polls, just remember to flip the ballot over. You'll have a number of questions to vote on the backside as well. To quickly summarize the reasons why this is on the November election, think safe schools, safety, parking lots, secure off-street parking, the ability to better address some of the congestion with drop-offs and pickups, a secure entryway, and then the ability to have a single full-time administrator in that building during the time that our students and staff are there, very appropriate. We've talked about the ATSNR study that indicates that our learning spaces are undersized and that we have inadequate spaces to support special ed, English language learners, Title I students. So think appropriate academic spaces and facilities. On the line of facilities, inflation adjusted, both McKinley and Adams combined need an estimated $16 million worth of repairs. And then the final piece is economics and operational efficiency. Operating one slightly larger building versus 2 smaller schools would save us conservatively an estimated $100,000 per year in operational costs. It would reduce some of the issues that we have with transportation, et cetera. And so we think that it makes sense economically for the community to consider this proposal. The site is 29 acres across from the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. It is adjacent to Hilltop Celebration Church. It is within city limits. There's good access to the site, and it has city utilities to the location as well. We talked about the tax impact at $7.17 a month on a $250,000 home. If your home was valued at $400,000, your monthly impact would be $13 on question 1, with an additional 58 cents on question 2. Even if this were to pass, you'll see Fergus Falls is the column in the middle with the additional tax impact, the gold bar on top of the maroon bar. You can see that we are still firmly right in the middle of area schools in terms of school tax impact. There is one last community meeting to learn more about the bond. It is this Wednesday night at 6 p.m. It is a virtual session, so people can sign on from the comfort and convenience of their own homes. The presentation itself will take approximately 35 to 45 minutes with an opportunity for folks to submit questions in the chat as well. And most importantly, remember, folks, if you have not voted yet, please vote on November 5th. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Jeff, I think on the ballot, I know that the sample ballot that I saw showed on the second page, but different people in our district sometimes vote for different, some people
So it could be
have a
switched over.
different district, like a county commissioner, some don't have a county commissioner. So there, but question 2 does follow question 1 immediately afterwards. So sometimes it's good to be on the same page, and sometimes it's not.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions for Superintendent Drake? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to our general consent items. We have the minutes from October 14th board meeting, which was in your packets, and we'll turn it over to our treasurer, Kirby Anderson, for board bills.
Yes. Matt Lemke came in and met with me and with Renee before this meeting, and we reviewed $977,000 worth of bills. $750,000 of that was in the general fund, and the bulk of the balance of that was in building construction, and we'll talk about those a little bit. The biggest one on the general fund was our monthly payment to IQ for $143,000, and the largest one, $169,000 of that $177,000 was to pay the final payment on the pavement over at the ALC in the Armory parking lot. A couple other things of note. Purchased some FIAD curriculum for the Lincoln School for just under $13,000. We did have a check go out for almost $40,000 to climate control on the replacing the existing controls over at Cleveland. I think there's a balance of about $7,000 in that project. Interstate Engineering, we paid just over $7,000 again on ALC and Army parking lot services for the engineering piece, and I believe we have about an $8,000 balance on that. $42,000 went to Lakes Country Service Co-op, and that's our annual fee related to the prairie wetlands. Our unemployment, we had a 2-quarter payment of $123,000, and so our annual payment now for unemployment would be about $160,000. So this is what I paid for those 3 summer months. Other than that, I think that is about it. So thanks to Matt for coming in early. His last time he'll do bills. And thanks to Renee for having things in order, as always. Any questions?
Is that $123,000, is that, any of that going to be reimbursed by the state?
Yes, it should be.
It should be.
Yes.
The unemployment, yeah.
Yep.
But once that fund dries out, then we're on our own.
Our fund balance. Okay.
Good question.
Any other questions for Kirby? Thank you, Kirby. And we'll move on to Elaine Janke to talk about personnel.
Yep, and we just have a few items tonight. So good evening, everyone. Support staff hire, Susie, I don't know if to pronounce it.
Kusera.
Okay, thank you. Dishwasher at Lincoln, she'll start November 11th. And then support staff resignations, we have 2, Kate Davis and Cassie Forster. Their last day, both of them will be next Friday. And then a certified staff leave of absence request from Ann Skoll, World English German IQ teacher. I sent that information all out to the board previously. That would be effective the October 24th today through the end of the school year. So I would request board approval on those items.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the general consent items?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? And then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
What's that?
What do we say there? Yeah. Motion passes.
Motion passes, thank you. I'm new at this. All right, well, there is no old business, and on to new business. One item, the memorandum of agreement between M-State and Fergus Falls Public Schools Nursing and Allied Health Clinical Affiliation effective November 1st, 2024 through October 31st, 2029. Can I get a motion to approve that, please?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. That concludes our board meeting, and the next board meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th at 5:15 PM, right here in the outer community room. Can I get a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.